are back. Today I'm going through genuinely one of my most highly requested videos, which is a desk setup tour. So ever since the channel began, I've been lucky enough to have quite a decent setup, which allowed me to revise for longer periods of time fairly comfortably. Now you don't need to have the world's best desk setup to, revise well and be productive. However, it certainly can help. So I want to go through what I keep on my desk, how I keep it nice and clean and minimalist, things like cable management and all the different products I use to keep me productive and organized. I don't want to waste any of your time. If you want to skip to any particular section, it will be timestamped in the description below. And if you want to buy anything, you can use the links in the description to every single product, as well as things like my camera and microphone. And if you do buy something through that link, I do get a small kickback, so thank you in advance. The first thing I want to talk about is the heart and soul of the setup, the desk. FlexiSpot were kind enough to send me out a free electric standing desk, and it's done wonders for me, especially my back. Electric standing desk, you can switch from sitting to standing just like that, and it's not all just hype, it actually helps a lot. So I've had this desk for about 2 weeks now, and I've found that I'm a lot more productive when it comes to things like video editing and just working at my desk for longer periods of time. For example, when I'm, making these videos and trying to put in as much effort as possible, I'll be seated at my desk for 5, 6, 7 hours plus in a single sitting, and this can take a big toll on my back. And I'm a young man, I'm not trying to be hunchback like Doofenshmirtz and Phineas and Ferb. I want to keep my vertebrae nice and intact. So when I feel like, I've been sitting down for too long, this will usually be once every hour. I can just press on one of the buttons and it moves straight to standing desk, and it's really smooth. It's quite quiet, so I can even do it in the night when I'm, editing at like 2 AM, as you'll see by my Instagram stories. It wasn't too hard to set up. I was lucky enough that my stepdad has a master's degree in engineering, so he could help set this desk up quite easily. However, he said it wasn't too bad, there's nothing like soldering or wiring. It's just a bit of drilling, which shouldn't be too hard for you guys to do. So if you do want this desk, check it out in the link in the description. But yeah, if you're looking for a nice Christmas present to give to someone or to wish from your parents, a standing desk has been really helpful for me. Now let's move on to the second part of my setup, aka the thing that's driving the whole thing, my 2017 base model MacBook Pro. So this is the 13-inch base model of the MacBook. It only has 128 gigabytes of storage, however, it's good enough for me. A lot of you guys ask, did my mum buy that? Did my dad buy that? No, I actually bought that with my own money, which I earned, during the first lockdown from buying and reselling things on Facebook. I made a bit of money from that, and I managed to find an absolutely amazing deal on the laptop from a guy who didn't need it, which included warranty as well. Personally, I'm a big fan of Macs and certain Apple products because I've had a Mac previously and it just worked really well. I love the OS experience. The main thing is that it has Final Cut Pro, which I used to edit. So even on this 13-inch base model MacBook Pro, I can cut through 4K footage and edit all my big files that I get from my Canon EOS M really easily. Though it only has 128 gigabytes of storage, I use these two SSDs and hard drives, connect it into my Mac, and then can use with Final Cut Pro, so I don't actually have to use any of my internal storage, and I can also take it with me and edit it on someone else's Mac if I need to. However, I think if I were to, buy another computer, I would invest in some more local storage, but for now, it's what I can afford and it's good enough. But what we need to know is I keep my Mac on a little stand. This stand I just bought off Amazon for about £20. It's metal, it's quite nice. The reason I got this stand is because I was looking throughout Reddit and I see the people on, Mac setups, and they all have this like kind of computer there. And the one reason I didn't want to get a desktop was because I used to visit my father every single half term. So I needed something that was relatively portable. And with this, I can just plug into my computer, it works with my monitor. However, if I need to go on the go, I can just take the cable out and take my Mac with me. I really like it because I get a lot of screen real estate, and with this stand I can keep like my MacBook open in the corner as well as have the big monitor. This means I can put something like Discord or Spotify or like my to-do list on the little screen, on the big screen have anything I'm working on. I like to use an app called Magnet, which organizes my windows very easily and very comfortably. Now speaking of peripherals, I'm going to move on to my mouse and keyboard. So my keyboard is the Royal Clutch RK61. It's a mechanical keyboard with the red switches. Now if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. Recently I've got into mechanical keyboards and I've been trying to, use them more, especially because they're really comfortable to type on. I can get some fast typing speeds as I'm trying to improve my words per minute. I was first fascinated with the idea of getting a mechanical keyboard when I saw my brother had a nice like a Razer mechanical keyboard, and then I saw Ali Abdal's video where he talks about his, I can't remember what it was called exactly, but It was a mechanical keyboard, also with red switches, and it was really nice. It sounded amazing. And then the thing that pushed me over the edge was when my friend Alex got this exact keyboard, but he got it with brown switches. Now, in my friend group, literally all of us have this exact same keyboard, and it's really nice. If you haven't tried a mechanical keyboard, they are amazing. It's like so customizable. I can change out the switches, and if I ever want to change out the keycaps, I can do that. The world of mechanical keyboards is quite fascinating, and you may think, you know, it needs to be really expensive, because I remember looking at Ali Adal's keyboard and it was outrageously pricey. However, this keyboard is about £35 on a good deal, Bluetooth as well as wired, and has RGB. So this means it will be perfect at night and any other use cases you want it for. You can quick connect with up to 3 devices, and if you guys want to know more about mechanical keyboards and how it's helped me as a GCSE student, let me know and I'll maybe make a full review. Moving on to the mouse. The mouse is a very key component in your setup. Just like with a keyboard, you'll be most likely using your mouse for hours on end in a day. So you want to get a good mouse. As a productivity YouTuber, I wanted to get the mouse that literally every tech reviewer has, and that is the Logitech MX Master. So I got the Logitech MX Master Series 1, mainly because I actually bought the Series 2S. However, I paid way too much for it and realized that the Series 1 was on sale on Amazon for £38 on a Black Friday deal, which is ridiculously cheap. Even now you can buy it for about £44. And the thing about this mouse is that it's absolutely fantastic for my Mac and literally any other devices. There's so many buttons on it, and you can even download an app where you program what each and every single button does. With this, I'm really productive and able to drag windows as well as swipe through tabs and bring up Launchpad and literally do everything I want on this mouse and reprogram it if I need to. One of the best features of it is probably the sideways scrolling, which is really useful when I'm scrolling through a timeline in Final Cut Pro. I think the battery is rated for about 40 to 44 days, so you won't need to charge it often. If I had to give one flaw about this, is the fact that it's micro USB. Obviously the new Logitech MX Master 3 isn't, but I don't mind because I don't have to charge it a lot, and some of my other devices are still micro USB, so I have plenty of those cables lying around. Next, I want to move on to one of the most talked about parts of my setup, which is my monitor. I often get comments on my YouTube videos saying, what is that monitor? How do you connect it? I obviously connect it via my USB-C hub and plug in a HDMI cable into that. If I had to say one thing, like you should get one thing out of this whole setup, is buy a second monitor. For this, I was probably just like you and had my computer hunched over looking at the screen and typing, and then I bought this monitor and it changed everything. So for like the first 3-4 months, I didn't even have a mouse and keyboard. I got comments saying, buy an external mouse and keyboard, buy this, buy that. I didn't have money for it at the time, but I still managed to make it work by just using my inbuilt Mac and keyboard and trackpad, and it is so good. I can have the textbook on one side, Anki flashcards open on the other side, Spotify on the bottom. By just having a second monitor, it boosts your productivity by like 100% out. I don't know if that's absolutely right, but if you can afford it, just buy yourself a monitor. It's not too expensive. You can buy them on Facebook Marketplace for relatively cheap. I paid way too much for this monitor for what it does. It's only 60 Hertz, so it's not the best. It's 1920 by 1080. It'll be so useful to you in the long term. Specifically, this is a HP 27-inch black monitor, like I said, 60 Hertz, HDMI and VGA, nothing else really. Now, if you have the monitor, you also need to get the monitor pole. My monitor, I actually started off with just balancing it on a shelf drawer kind of thing, and this raised it above my MacBook so that I could actually see the monitor and, you know, work on my MacBook. And this was quite nice. However, I needed to get a nice Vaser mounted arm. So I went ahead and bought myself like a gas operated Vaser arm. However, it left marks at my desk and it didn't really look that nice. I wanted something a bit more cleaner, something that went well with my setup. So on Black Friday, I found this monitor pole kind of thing and it was only 17 quid. So I went ahead and bought it. I don't tend to adjust my monitor a lot, so I don't need a gas operated arm. So if you do finally have a monitor, get yourself a monitor arm. It will save a lot of real estate on your desk, and I know most of us are in smaller rooms, so you need all the space you can get. What I want to talk about is something that covers my whole desk, which is my mouse mat. I actually bought a little mouse mat just for, you know, the mouse itself. However, I soon realized that I needed something to cover much more so I could have my keyboard and other things on it. So I bought this big mouse mat on Amazon. The dimensions are 900mm by 400mm, so 90 centimeters by 40 centimeters. And it's good because I have plenty of room for my mouse, protects the desk from anything I put on it, as well as, you know, the keyboard. Let's move on to something that's crucial to my setup. My headphones. I have the Sony WH-1000 XM3 wireless headphones. So that is a mouthful to say. However, these are literally the best noise cancelling headphones on the market. Obviously you can buy the XM4s. You can even look at any tech reviewers video, look at MKBHDs, look at Unbox Therapies, look at Linus's. These headphones are fantastic. My friend got them before me and I tried them out. I was lucky enough to get these for my birthday. They are pretty pricey, however now they've gone down and you could probably find a decent pair refurbished or used for about 100 to 200 pounds. However, brand new you can find these around 200 pounds. These are amazing because for one, they're USB-C, touch control, they've got a great app, and the noise cancelling is off the charts. When I'm revising, I don't hear nothing. I don't hear my annoying sister, I don't hear my family, I don't hear any background noise. On the bus, I don't hear anyone shouting, I don't hear kids screaming. It's fantastic. Trust me, these are worth it. Out of every single tech product I have, this is probably what I use the most, especially now when I'm stuck at home. These things are in my head for like 8 hours a day plus. Maybe that's not quite as good as I make it out to be. However, they are comfortable, they are worth it. For them, I have this headphone stand. It's just something I found on Amazon. It was relatively cheap. It's definitely not worth the money. It's like metally plastic. However, it puts them up and displays them quite nicely. Now let's move on to my lighting. Obviously you can't see it here, but I have a big LED strip which wraps around my room. They are not like anything else on the market. There are tons of individual lights, which means you can get some crazy effects as you'll see. You can control them via Wi-Fi on your phone, so there's no need for some pesky remote, as well as the fact that you can even control them from your computer, which I've never seen before personally. The best thing is my friend literally hand solders them himself. Everything is done by him, so you're not getting some cheap, crappy LEDs. You're actually getting something that's worth the money. If you want, check them out in the description as well. Personally, these things are on more than my normal lights because there's so many different lighting effects. They provide a nice chill mood, especially when I'm revising or maybe just gaming with my friends. Now, coinciding with lighting, I want to talk about these smart bulbs. So recently I got 2 smart bulbs, one for my big light and one for my desk light. And it was a relatively good purchase. These aren't any of those crappy Philips Hue lights that you need to have like a hub and everything for. These are just your classic Wi-Fi bulbs. My favorite thing about them is that they work with Alexa and Google Assistant, as well as the fact that they are programmable to turn on at certain times. So for me, I like to turn it on like a minute before my alarm or 2 minutes before my alarm, so that the lights are already on when I wake up and it's much easier to get out of bed. Now let's talk about my kind of charging station mat thing. Basically there, I just have 2 wireless chargers, one for my watch, one for my phone. I often get asked what it is. It's just a Samsung Gear Sport. I mainly have this watch for exercise and, you know, keeping track of my heart rate and the calories I burn. It's pretty nice. It's relatively cheap now as it's a couple years old. However, it's got all day battery life, can even get maybe to 2 days if you're really conservative with it. But the best thing about it is GPS as well as Spotify. So when I'm going out on runs, I don't want to bring my phone in it. I don't know if it's just me, but I don't like having like my phone strapped to my arm or my pocket. It makes me feel like unevenly balanced. And I know that's a really weird thing to say, but you can also use Bluetooth with headphones with your watch and play music or podcast via Spotify, which just works great with the watch. Let's move on to a pretty important thing when it comes to your desk setup. That is cable management. This desk is literally just 2 legs. There's not much I can do underneath it, and I need to hide the cables as best as I can. With the desk came these little pull tabs that you can kind of wrap around the cables and stick to underneath the desk. That was really useful when it came to cable management. However, I was also able to make this setup a 1 cable setup. So obviously Anas Nurali made his $6,000 desk setup video, and in that video something particularly stood out to me, which was his 1 cable setup. So for that he obviously had a USB-C monitor, and I'm not that bougie yet, I can't afford to spend that much on an ultra wide. The USB-C monitor, it allows it to send power and data, so you can run your monitor as well as charging your computer. This means you theoretically only need 1 cable. However, for me, that's not an option. I only have HDMI and VGA, and HDMI can't carry power. So what do I do to get around this? Well, for one, I went ahead and took my USB-C hub and stuck it underneath my table right here. I did this similar to Ali by using Velcro. I went ahead and connected my HDMI cable, which runs down from my monitor pole underneath my table to the USB-C hub. It means that the display will be running. However, the one problem is, how am I gonna get that USB-C cable? I got the idea of finding a 1.8 meter USB-C female to USB-C male cable which runs underneath my table from my hub all the way to my MacBook. I'll say the most important thing that it has is a USB-C port. So why is that important? Well, it allows me to provide power to my computer so I don't have to run another cable to charge it. So through that one cable and hub, I'm able to get a picture on my display as well as provide power to my computer. And finally, I'm able to also plug in peripherals such as my hard drives, my keyboard, my mouse if I'm using the Bluetooth receiver. But what about the rest of my cables? It was lucky enough that it already came with some cable management, including these kind of 3M sticky stuff where you like put cables in there and then stick it to the bottom of the table like I said earlier. However, apart from that, I use my own kind of Velcro sticky things which I had left over because I bought it for the hub. But what about things like my power lead and my HDMI cable? For this, I went ahead and got myself a cable snake. So I got a pack of 2 for about £6 on Amazon. And what you do is basically get all the cables you have, put them together, and then put the cable snake around it. And this means you just have one big cable running down from your desk. It looks far neater and far cleaner. To complete that setup, I went and got myself 2 boxes where I can keep all my plugs and different things. Because of the box, it just looks far cleaner and far simpler, and it matches quite well with the black tabletop. The whole point of this setup is to be as clean and minimalist as possible. By doing that, it keeps everything nice and organized. I also have one from my bed, from like the charging station on the side of the bed running down to another box, meaning that all the cables are basically hidden and all that mess is gone. Another thing that I recently added to my setup was these shelves. They're relatively easy to put into the wall, get the equipment with it. It's a pack of 2 shelves, one shorter one and one longer one. I use to store different things such as some essential items like my deodorant, some pens, a book I'm reading, etc. And on the other shelves, I keep my controller, which I use to play Rocket League with my friends, and my microphone. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is my chair. I don't really want to talk about this mainly because I need to get a new one. This isn't a very good chair. It's not greatly comfortable. It's just like the standard one you can get from like IKEA and like any like office shop on Amazon. It's relatively cheap. You can buy it secondhand on Facebook Marketplace. What I found out is you need to invest in a good chair. You need good lumbar support. It's good to keep everything, you know, in order. You might notice I'm saying I need to get this a lot in that video. That's because my setup is never truly finished. I'm always altering things, trying to make it better, trying to make it more simpler and more productive. You need to kind of have that mindset whenever you're doing something. With like a home or like a room, you're always changing things, and with this desk, I'm always trying to change things. Having a tidy and clean workspace is far more important than having the most aesthetically pleasing workspace. If everything is within arm's reach and it's easy to get and it looks nice, you're more likely to sit down and actually be productive and get work done. So I really hope this desk setup and kind of look at how I work has inspired you to create a cleaner and more minimalistic setup for you so that you're more productive at it. This setup will hopefully change in the next few months and get even better. Maybe I'll make an updated setup in the end of 2021. I really hope you enjoyed this week's video, guys. If you did, check out this video that I put out last week talking about GCSEs and how I felt about mocks and studying for exams, etc, etc. Don't forget to subscribe and have a productive week.